Let me tell you something that most men never realize until it's too late. Chasing women is not a sign of desire. It's a sign of disorientation. A man who's clear on his purpose doesn't chase. Not because he's playing a game, not because he's cold, but because his life already has direction. And when a man has direction, he moves like a force. He becomes the gravity in the room. He doesn't orbit anyone else. When you lead with purpose, women aren't your mission. They're part of the reward that comes from walking your path with discipline and conviction. But most guys have it backwards. They build their entire emotional ecosystem around the approval of women, hoping that if they say the right thing, show up the right way, look a certain way, they'll earn love. That mindset doesn't build respect. It builds resentment both from the woman and eventually from yourself. You see, when a man operates without purpose, his energy becomes scattered. He ends up drifting, always reacting, always hoping someone will validate him, especially romantically. That's where the chasing starts. But here's the truth. You can't chase and lead at the same time. Chasing is what happens when you don't know where you're going, and you're hoping someone else will give you direction emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But a man on purpose, he doesn't ask where he belongs. He creates where he belongs. He doesn't chase women. He builds a life so magnetic that the right woman wants to be part of it. Let me make something clear. This isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. There's a quiet strength in a man who wakes up every day with intention. He's not perfect. He still feels desire, still feels emotion, but he knows that chasing external approval is a distraction. His focus is locked on growth, on legacy, on becoming the kind of man even he would admire, and that energy, that self-mastery, it's incredibly attractive not just to women, but to the world. I've met men who have everything on paper, looks, charm, charisma, but they're always chasing. Why? Because deep down, they're still hoping to be chosen. They haven't chosen themselves yet. They haven't built an identity rooted in purpose, so they look for one in relationships. And what happens when you put your identity in someone else's hands? You become a prisoner to their attention. You become reactive, you shrink, but the man who leads with purpose doesn't shrink. He expands. His confidence isn't tied to who texts back or who compliments him. It's tied to how he lives, how he carries himself, how he responds to adversity. He moves like he belongs, not like he's begging for a seat at the table. In that right, there is the kind of presence that commands, not demands respect. So ask yourself right now, what are you waking up for? Is it just to impress someone, to be liked? Or is it to build something that will outlive your insecurities and prove to yourself that you were never meant to chase, you were meant to lead? Purpose doesn't mean you reject love. It means you know that love isn't your source of direction. It's your companion on the journey, not the destination. A man with purpose doesn't fear walking alone for a while, because he understands that solitude is where leaders are born. And when he walks with clarity, with vision, with quiet conviction, he never has to chase anyone, because the right people will always find their way to a man who knows exactly where he's going. Lead with vision, not validation. That's how you stop chasing and start becoming the man she'd never want to walk away from. Let's talk about the mindset that separates men who are chased from men who are ignored, and it's one most people never even think about. It's the difference between abundance and scarcity. And no, I'm not talking about how much money you've got, how many dates you line up, or how many compliments you fish for online. I'm talking about internal wealth. I'm talking about a deep, unshakable belief that you are enough with or without anyone's validation. You see, when a man operates from scarcity, he lives like he's constantly about to lose something. He fears rejection. He fears loneliness, he fears being overlooked. So he clings, he overcompensates, he chases because in his mind, love and attention are rare resources, and he better fight to hold on to them. But what he doesn't realize is that this mindset bleeds out into everything he does. His words feel needy. His energy feels desperate, and desperation never attracts, it repels. On the other hand, a man who walks with an abundance mindset moves differently. He doesn't chase because he knows deep in his bones that he is the prize, not in a boastful, arrogant way, but in a grounded, self-assured way. He understands that relationships are not about proving his worth, they're about sharing it. He doesn't overthink if a woman pulls back or loses interest. He simply honors his value and moves forward, knowing there will be others because the world is abundant when you've worked to become valuable. This mindset isn't built overnight. It comes from doing the inner work, healing old wounds, setting standards, building discipline. It comes from recognizing that love isn't something you beg for. It's something you attract by who you are, how you live, and what you won't settle for. When you have that mindset, rejection doesn't feel like the end. It feels like redirection, like a filter that removes anything not aligned with your growth. A lot of guys ask, but how do I develop that abundance mentality when I don't have options? When I've been ghosted, disrespected, overlooked? And I always say the same thing. You build options by becoming the option. When you stop living reactively and start becoming a man of value, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you stop looking for love and start being someone worth loving. That shift alone changes the entire energy you bring to every interaction. Let's be honest, a man with a scarcity mindset will compromise his dignity just to keep a woman interested. He'll accept breadcrumbs, he'll stay quiet when disrespected, he'll keep showing up even when he's clearly not being chosen. But the man with an abundance mindset, he walks away not out of bitterness, but out of certainty. He knows that peace, self-respect, and emotional clarity are not things you trade for temporary attention. He would rather be alone with his purpose than entangled with someone who doesn't see his value, and that energy, it's magnetic. Women feel it, people feel it, because true confidence isn't loud. It's not in your clothes or your words. It's in how easily you can walk away from anything that doesn't honor you. That's what makes a man powerful. That's what makes him different. So if you're tired of chasing, tired of being overlooked, tired of giving more than you get, it's time to stop asking what women want and start asking, what kind of man would I never walk away from? Then become him. Because the man who operates from abundance doesn't chase. He chooses. And that's the kind of man the world quietly waits to follow. There's a big misconception floating around that the strongest men are the ones who feel nothing. That to win in relationships, you have to be cold, emotionally unavailable, detached from everything. But let's clear that up right now. Emotional detachment is not about being numb. It's about being grounded. It's the ability to feel everything, but not be ruled by anything. It's not disconnection, it's discipline. You see, a man who never chases women isn't heartless. He's just in control of his heart. He's not suppressing emotions, he's channeling them. He knows how to care without collapsing, how to love without losing himself. That's the mark of real maturity, not running from connection, but refusing to let connection run you. Most men out here, they're reacting. A woman pulls away, they panic. She goes quiet, they overthink. She shows interest, they attach immediately, hoping to lock it in before it slips away. That's not love, that's survival. That's a trauma response dressed up as romance. And the reason that dynamic fails every time is simple. You cannot build strength while living at the mercy of someone else's attention. But a man who's done the inner work, He doesn't fall into that spiral. He stays centered whether he's being adored or ignored. He's not chasing highs, not escaping lows. His emotions don't control his decisions. He's learned how to sit with discomfort, with silence, with the unknown, and still stay composed. That kind of emotional poise, that's what gives him his power. Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. *** being available isn't the same as being accessible. ***, a grounded man can be fully present, fully open, and still say, I don't tolerate emotional chaos. He can look someone in the eye, express care, and still walk away if his standards are crossed. That's not weakness, that's self-respect. Now, people might label that as distant. They might say, you're cold, you don't open up. But that's only because we live in a culture that confuses boundaries with bitterness. The man who refuses to chase is often misunderstood because he doesn't play by emotional manipulation. He's not here for power games. He's here for peace, for growth, for alignment. And if he doesn't find it, he moves on with clarity, not anger. Think about that. Imagine having the kind of presence where you can love fully but never cling. Where you can walk into a relationship whole, not hoping to be completed, not trying to be rescued. That's emotional detachment at its highest form. You feel everything, but nothing owns you. You don't chase because you understand. ***, if it's real, it won't need chasing. ***, this mindset is rare. It's forged through solitude, through reflection, through letting go of the need to be constantly reassured. And once you build it, once you get to that place where your peace isn't negotiable, people start treating you differently. Not because you said anything flashy, but because your energy speaks before your words ever do. So if you're the type of man who gets lost in every woman who shows you affection, it's time to pause. Look inward, ask yourself, am I connecting from a place of wholeness or am I just afraid to be alone? Because the man who fears loneliness will always chase, but the man who embraces solitude, he becomes someone no one wants to lose. ***, emotional detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. And when you live with clarity, you never chase chaos. You choose calm, you choose self-respect. And in doing that, you choose the kind of power no one can take from you. ***, let's get one thing straight. ***, rejection is not the enemy. ***, it's not the signal that you're not enough. It's not the confirmation that you'll always lose, and it sure as hell isn't something you need to avoid at all costs. In fact, for men who never chase women, rejection is something they welcome. Why? Because they see it for what it really is. Not an attack, not a loss, but a filter. A redirection, a tool for alignment. Most men take rejection personally because they tie their identity to the outcome. A woman says no, and suddenly they spiral. They question their worth. They overanalyze every word they said. They lose sleep trying to figure out what went wrong. But here's the truth. ***, rejection doesn't reveal who you are, it reveals who you're not meant to be with. And when you have that mindset, the sting fades and the lesson remains. The men who chase are the ones trying to force doors that are already closed. They think if they just try harder, text more, give more, sacrifice more, they'll eventually get picked. But the man who leads himself, he listens when a door doesn't open. He respects when energy shifts. He doesn't take it as a challenge to win someone over. He takes it as guidance to move in a better direction. A direction where his energy is reciprocated, not drained. Because let's be honest, how many times have you looked back and realized that the thing you wanted so badly would have been a disaster if you got it? That the no you hated in the moment was actually the yes that freed you from settling. That's the wisdom of rejection. That's what men with strong, grounded mindsets understand. They trust that what falls away wasn't meant to stay. They don't need closure. They don't need explanations. They just move forward always. See, chasing often comes from fear. The fear of being alone, the fear of not being chosen, the fear of not being enough. But when you stop fearing rejection, you stop clinging to people who don't see you clearly. You stop overextending just to prove your worth. You start standing on solid ground, saying, if it's not mutual, it's not mine. And that shift is power, and here's the part most men don't want to admit. ***, sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is getting rejected early. ***, why? Because it saves you from wasting time, energy, and your emotional bandwidth on something that would have slowly drained your soul. It protects your purpose, it sharpens your discernment, it teaches you not to settle for crumbs when you're built for the whole table. Now, this doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're emotionally unavailable. It means you have standards. It means you understand that love is not about convincing someone. It's about meeting someone who already sees what you carry. You don't want to be tolerated. You don't want to be someone's backup plan. You want to be chosen fully and freely. And if someone can't do that, you wish them well. And you keep walking. A man who never chases knows this. ***, rejection isn't personal, it's directional. And if you can adopt that mindset, if you can learn to see every closed door as a blessing instead of a punishment, you become untouchable, because nothing can break a man who understands that loss is often the path to gain, and silence is sometimes the loudest form of protection. So the next time you hear a no, don't shrink, stand taller, don't chase, choose. Because the man who sees rejection as redirection is the man who never wastes his steps chasing what was never meant for him. Here's what most men don't realize. Every interaction you have with a woman, every conversation, every look, every move exists inside a frame. And either you're the one setting that frame or you're being pulled into hers. It's not about control, it's about intention. The men who never chase women don't sit around waiting to see how things unfold. They decide how things unfold. They lead, they define, they set the emotional temperature of the room, and they never give that power away. Now, don't confuse that with arrogance. This isn't about domination, it's about ownership of self. Most guys walk into relationships and interactions already playing catch-up. They're adjusting their behavior, their values, even their tone, just to be liked, just to keep the peace, just to avoid being alone. But when you constantly adjust who you are to fit someone else's expectations, you don't just lose your power, you lose yourself. A man who leads with frame isn't bending to fit into someone's world. He's inviting someone into his. He's not rude, not inflexible, but he's clear on what he wants, clear on what he values, clear on what he will and won't tolerate. And that kind of clarity, it's rare. That's why it stands out. That's why it attracts, because people are drawn to certainty, not indecision. You ever notice how some men walk into a room and immediately command presence without saying a word? That's not magic. That's frame. That's inner congruence. That's someone whose words, energy, and actions are all aligned. He's not trying to impress you. He's not waiting for cues. He's living out a story he already believes in, and you either respect it or you step aside. But here's the thing: you can't set the frame if you don't know who you are. If you haven't done the work to define your mission, your vision, your core. Because if you're empty inside, all you can do is absorb other people's emotions, opinions, and validation. That's when chasing starts. That's when you start giving away pieces of yourself just to feel whole. You have to realize, the moment you let someone else set the frame, you give them the keys to your self-worth. And when you do that, everything becomes reactive. If she's warm, you feel confident. If she's cold, you question yourself. If she pulls away, you chase harder. That's not leadership, that's emotional servitude. A high, man maintains his frame regardless of the energy around him. He doesn't match disrespect. He doesn't entertain chaos. He doesn't let his standards waver for temporary attention. He communicates directly, listens deeply, but stays rooted in who he is. And when a woman meets that kind of man, she doesn't want to test him. She wants to respect him. Because deep down, every woman is looking for leadership, not control, but grounded leadership. Someone who doesn't just react to life, but directs it. This is what makes men who never chase different. They're not playing defense. They're not strategizing on how to be like. They've already chosen themselves. They've already built the emotional structure others want to be a part of. And that's why people gravitate toward them, not because they're loud, not because they're flashy, but because their presence speaks before they even open their mouth. So the next time you find yourself trying to win someone over, stop and ask, am I leading this moment, or am I shrinking inside someone else's expectations? Because if you're always fitting into someone else's frame, you'll never get to live in the world you were meant to create. Set the frame, lead with conviction, because when you define the story, you stop chasing roles in someone else's. You become the man who writes the script and lets the right people choose if they want to be part of it. Let's talk about something that separates boys from men. How you invest your energy. Because a man who never chases women isn't doing less, he's doing more with intention. He's not passive, he's precise. And the reason he doesn't chase is simple. He values his time, his focus, and his peace far too much to waste it on anything that doesn't align with who he is or where he's going. We live in a world that constantly pressures men to prove themselves to be available, to entertain every interest, to respond immediately, to pour energy into anything that gives them even a hint of attention. But let me tell you this, attention is cheap, alignment is priceless. A high investment man knows the difference. He doesn't pour into situations that don't pour back. He doesn't chase women just because they're beautiful or available. He chooses carefully because he understands that who he gives his energy to will either build him or break him. And I'm not just talking about romantic energy. I'm talking about mental energy, emotional bandwidth, the kind of focus you need to build something meaningful, to evolve, to lead. The man who never chases women isn't cold or disinterested. He's just selective. He doesn't say yes out of fear of missing out. He says yes only when there's depth when there's substance when the energy matches the vision. This kind of man treats his time like an investment portfolio. He asks, if I give this my attention, what's the return? Not in a transactional way, but in a spiritual one. Will this relationship sharpen me, stretch me, support me, or will it distract me, drain me, detour me? If the answer doesn't elevate him, he steps back without hesitation, not out of ego, but out of clarity. Most men never get to this level because they've never been taught how to protect their energy. They think being a good man means being constantly available. But availability without discernment leads to burnout, leads to resentment, leads to being used, and then left wondering why it always feels like you're giving more than you get. The truth is, when you give high-level energy to low-level situations, you always end up empty. But a man who understands his worth, he's not bitter. He's just wise. He walks into every interaction knowing he's not for everyone, and that's the point. He's not here to be consumed by anyone who claps for him. He's here to build something that demands the presence of a real partner, not just a pretty distraction. And here's what's crazy. The more selective you become, the more attractive you become, because real confidence is quiet. Real power is disciplined. A man who doesn't flinch when he walks away from misalignment doesn't need to chase. He becomes the man women chase not because he's playing games, but because his standards tell the world exactly how he sees himself. So if you find yourself constantly drained, constantly chasing, constantly giving more than you're receiving, it's time to stop and ask, what am I investing in? And does it reflect who I am becoming? Because the world is full of opportunities, but only the wise learn how to protect their energy and place it where it truly grows. Be a high investment man, be selective, because when your energy becomes sacred, so does your presence, and the world will start treating you accordingly.